guys, start between the lineup. We're going to start shortly. Three surfers come back in, or fire south. We're going to start shortly. Here we go. Heat number 9 of the round 2. Cole Alves in red, Lenny Jensen in blue.
Morning everyone and welcome to Jinzun Harbour, Taiwan. We are here at the Taiwan Open of Surfing World Junior Championship action. Chris Binns down here alongside Contest Director Will Hayden-Smith. And we've got some waves this morning, mate. What's the plan?
Yeah, we've got some really nice waves. The wind is up early, but it's actually not getting into the conditions too bad. So we're going to finish those last 4 heats of men's round 2. And then we're going to come back and make another call. There's a chance we could go into men's round 3 or women's round 3. We're not quite sure yet. We're going to see how these 4 heats unfold.
We've got about 20 hours left in the event. What's the plan to try and roll it out?
Yeah, we had a huge day on day 1 and a pretty solid day yesterday, so we're now in a really good position where we can just pick the eyes out of it, to use a nice surfing event cliche there. But we can just be really selective. It looks like we've got a lot of waves coming, but there's also a lot of wind coming in the next few days as well, so we kind of need to be a bit selective over the coming days.
The tides are going to get better and better in the mornings as we go deeper into the event, and the winds are generally lighter in the morning. So is the plan to get here early every day and just see what's going on and try and make the most of that sort of morning period?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We've got some good tides coming. There's usually lighter winds in the morning. At the moment it's kind of strong, but it's not really affecting the wave face too much. And the north air wind is actually going to be really good for aerial surfing, and we saw some great aerial surfing in this event already, as you can see on our Instagram. And so I'm expecting a couple of big days of waiting around and picking the best period for the wind and waves and tide. So wait and see, but today's going to be really good. We've got some great waves and some pretty crucial matchups. No one wants to go home with a last place finish.
All right, cool. Well, we've got some highlights already from the event so far. It's been a lot of fun down here at Jinzun Harbour. We're going to throw to a quick highlights package, and then after that, up to the booth to talk to Shannon Hughes and Brad Bricknell for the call once we get competition underway.
An amazing first couple of days here at Jinzun Harbour. Of course, you are watching the Taiwan Open of Surfing, and more specifically the WSL World Junior Surfing Championships. Brad Bricknell here alongside Shannon Hughes for the call on day number 3. Shannon, those were the highlights. We saw some incredible aerial surfing from the boys and some big 9-point ride from the girls as well.
Absolutely, and the wind today is definitely going to turn this into an air game. I'm really excited to see the boys get underway. We are going straight into heat number 9 for round 2 with Cole Alves up against Lenny Jensen. So Hawaiian competitor from Maui up against Lenny Jensen, who's representing Germany, but he is from the Canary Islands. And we'll get this morning underway.
Yeah, absolutely right. We saw the day cut a little bit short yesterday afternoon. The contest director we just saw chatting to Chris Benz there before. Will Hayden-Smith, the consistency really got a little bit tough towards the later parts of this afternoon. We see a few free surfers out there. This is Kate Matson, one of the stars from earlier on, and talking about those air winds that you were talking about, Shannon. We are going to be seeing a lot of that today, and hopefully we do carry on today, because although there is a bit of wind, I'm really excited to see those ramps out there and what these young kids can do.
Absolutely, and the round 3 for men still has 12 heats in it, so I wouldn't be surprised, as long as it doesn't get that really too windy to where it's just making the surf kind of impossible, that we would maybe continue running with the guys. And there's plenty of swell. It seems to be a lot more consistent this morning. As you can see, those free surfers just launching through. A lot more consistent than what we had yesterday afternoon and evening, so I'm really, really happy with the call as well.
Yeah, almost a little slight direction change in that swell too. We were talking off camera before about the different peak that's coming
that wind is on it, I would say this breaks really change as we see our surfer in blue just cruising through the foam here. Lenny Jensen representing Germany from the Canary Islands, so nothing much on the board for him. We are still waiting for those first scores to come through. Of course, we had that 1 point ride for the start off of Cole Alves, which is going to be a throwaway score, but he did have that second wave where he was able to connect a combination of maneuvers.
Yeah, of course. Judges will take their time on these opening waves just to reset the scale for the day. Of course, conditions are quite different to what we've seen in the first 2 days of competition. And the judges now have locked those scores in. It looks like it's going to be a 6. And 36 of the best of them here in this men's division, represented from nations there, 7 regions around the world: Asia, Australia, Hawaii, Europe, Africa, South America and North America, are all represented here in their respective domestic tours on that junior series.
Great to see that variety of surfers coming from all over the world, showcasing where the best of junior surfing is currently located, and just great for these kids to have the opportunity to travel as well, start building those friendships from a young age with surfers from different countries. These are the kids
and pushed a little bit too hard on that turn. Obviously, that wind is affecting some of us over here, and some of those kind of turns really have to choose where on the face you engage your fins.
So 21 minutes on the clock. Cole Alves sitting in the lead with an 8.13 heat. 8.13 heat total. He's got that 6 on the board, which is a solid score at this stage. We take a look at this replay. So starts off behind that section, drives into this turn, flicks those fins out the back, but unfortunately his feet just slip off the wax and he goes down. So really warm water here. The right type of wax I
made the mistake. My wax is way too soft out there.
Definitely we could even almost go just with that base coat as opposed to any of those harder waxes to keep things nicely staying on your board. Even I think maybe because of the harbor, but there's almost this silt in the water here, so we've got those cobbles kind of really big grainy chunks. It's not that really refined, but there's this little bit of silt that's kind of in the water as well, especially when that stormy winds kind of kick it up. Makes that water a little bit more slimy. So I noticed that that's what happens with my board as it goes from kind of cleaner conditions to surfing in the free surfs when the winds kicked up. It almost gets like that even affects the wax. So it'll be, hopefully we don't see too much of that slipping around. I'm sure these kids are well prepared with that hard warm water whack, but definitely something that we noticed, especially in the longboarding event this week, because there's so much footwork involved with that. Their feet are constantly moving up and down the board, where with shortboarding, there's not nearly as much of where their feet are planted.
Yeah, great insights there from Shannon Hughes, who's been here 4 years in a row now with the World Longboard Championships, and as well, and been surfing out here a lot. So great insights there, and just around the waxing of the boards. Of course, these days you do see a lot of the Groms waxing their boards all the way through to the nose because of those big air reverse turns. As we see, these guys know how to go to the air. Crosby Colapinto there, and Cade Matson hanging out downstairs. When they go to the air, you'll see the stance widening a lot, and especially on those big nose pick air reverses, you'll see the front foot slipping all the way down towards the nose, and actually land nose first, and that enables them to get that board whipping around, getting that tail and those fins engaged to revert out. So definitely changed from my day when we used to just wax up until just in front of the front foot.
Absolutely. It is pretty funny because within the long, definitely, they have to use the whole length of the board, so the tail to the nose, and that's a huge part of what the criteria is. And I wonder if that's ever going to come into play in the shortboarding criteria, given that those airs are kind of giving those kids a little bit of a hint, like they need to
just take it to the air. That's what we want to see. We want to see rocket ships launched left, right, and center today. This is the future of professional surfing. And checking on those scores, 6-point ride for Cole Alves, and backed it up with a 2.13. His last wave just a 1.07. Not going to go into his top two. And then Lenny Jensen, a pretty quiet start for him. Just a 2.50. Still waiting on his second wave to get locked in. Top two waves counting. 30-minute heats and stock standard format here today. And if you just joined us from anywhere around the world, welcome to Jinzun Harbour. We're in Taitung County, about a 40-minute drive from the city, 500 miles south of Taipei on the east coast, facing due east and looking out at the Pacific Ocean. A beautiful tropical oasis is this place. Impressed.
Absolutely. And Taipei is a really great city, as we've got a little lull in action. Just give you a little tip. If you're looking for a good tropical surf destination, but with a really cool kind of mellow city vibe, Taipei is a pretty amazing place. My husband Aaron and I, for the last couple years, have flown into Taipei, spent a few days there with friends, and then driven down the east coast. And there's a beautiful, it's almost a kind of feel to a drive down the coast, although it's very tropical as far as what the mountain ranges look like, as opposed to kind of the dry desert land of California. There falls up and down the coastline as you're, keeping your eyes on the road, but keeping an eye on the mountains as well. And then this stunning coastline, there are waves that strip between here and Taipei all the way up the east coast. So it's just, as you can see there, I love that footage. So you can see those mountains behind.
The left-hand side, or the western side of the island, it's almost a different place altogether. Then you come to the east coast, and it's just like that. It reminds me of the Polynesian islands, Hawaii, Tahiti, and it actually, in fact, it is on a very similar latitude to the Hawaiian Islands. So I don't know why it's taken us so long to discover this beautiful place, but big thank you to the Taiwanese for hosting us, very gracious hosts, and it's an absolute honor and blessing to be here on day 3 of competition. 16 minutes and 35 seconds remaining in this one. Cole Alves up against Lenny Jensen. This is do or die surfing elimination round number 2. Alves from Hawaii out in front. Jensen in second, looking for a 5.64. We are still waiting on Jensen to lock in his wave number 2. We've got Shannon Hughes in the booth with us here, who's been here for over 10 days. This is your, I think, 10th or 11th day straight in the booth, Shannon.
11th day of work straight.
Very good. That coffee is flowing. And, we have been getting into the water. We see some free surfers down the beach here. Of course, a couple of peaks down to the southern end, Shannon, where you can get a little warm-up in. And this is the kind of surfing we are looking forward to seeing today.
Yeah, and that's, that little southern end, it's very similar to what's happening out front. It's really primarily the left, so you don't get that punchy right-hander coming through because it kind of closes out. We can see some good swell coming through, though. Plenty of action in the lineup this morning.
Here we go. This is a strong paddle from Jensen. He waited for a long time with priority, and he just, you've got to say that's a mistake. A quick stand-up in and out, and now that priority shifts over to Cole Alves. So you've got to say advantage here to the Hawaiian.
Absolutely. So Cole Alves sitting with priority. He is in the lead, looking to drop that 2.13. So this is going to be really important. If he can get a better score on the board, something in that 6-point range, maybe something higher, it's going to put a ton of pressure, given that Lenny Jensen hasn't really put anything in the mix yet that he will be carrying forward.
Yeah, it's a good point. And the other thing to note too today, because of the the almost just the one peaking play. There's nowhere to really run and hide or try and find waves under priority. So for Lenny Jensen over there, maybe yesterday he could have moved over to the next bank and try find something to manufacture a score under the priority of Alves. Now there's really a pretty defined peak today, and it's kind of going to be that cat and mouse sort of battle right in the zone.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see that priority come into play. I like it when it gets into that competitive mix, where sometimes that priority is really important on a point break just because you want to be in priority right where that takeoff spot is. Thinking of like J-Bay, even thinking back to like Malibu and those kind of areas where you really want to be in the spot when the set comes through. And on these kind of peaky waves, you can really get some distance between each other because there's multiple peaks. But today it'll be interesting to see how that shifts as we see Lenny Jensen having a look.
Yeah, well, he's going to get an opportunity here under priority, sitting out a little bit wider than Cole Alves. He's found a little right-hand runner. It's a smaller inside wave, and he's going to try and at least set up a second score here. It's not going to be anything major, as you can see the body language there. Not too much interest in the sections ahead.
So waiting for scores to come through, and I'm just thinking about our Hawaiian contingency as we have Cole Alves from Maui in the water now. There's a great group of Hawaiians here. Gabriella Bryan had a fantastic heat yesterday afternoon. Nice little warm-up moving through. As we see this replay, though, from Lenny Jensen, the Channel Islands surfer, just puts a few carves in the mix and has that kick out.
Yeah, nothing too special there. He locks in a 3.17, so he's got his two-wave combination in the bag. He needs a 4.97, and that's because Alves is still holding on to a 2.13. Open up with that 6. So this heat's taking a little time to get out of that first gear. We know there are opportunities out there. Alves was priority in the lead. Total heat score right now of 8.13. He's certainly going to be looking to drop that 2.13. He's going to take a look at this one. It looks like it's got a nice little tapered shoulder on it. And the Hawaiian is up and riding now. Similar turn to that first wave. A front side wrap into the pocket. And another little rebound for turn number 2. This wave really not standing up as he would have liked. But nonetheless, he is going to drop that 2.0 from his scoreline. And push that requirement out for Jensen a little bit further, but probably not the wave he was hoping for when he paddled into that one, Shannon.
Definitely. As we watch this replay now, so nice little pocket to start off with. I like that opening carve, nice and smooth, kind of slow, but it just continues to get flatter on him rather than really giving him those stand-up pockets. So 3 really similar turns. He's got that smooth style and flow going down, but really kind of lacking that punch and that variety within it. So he drops a 4.1, which is better than what Lenny Jensen has been able to put on the board so far. Lenny's last score, a 3.17. Cole Alves sitting definitely in the lead, with Lenny now chasing a 6.93.
12 minutes and, just over 12 minutes remaining on the clock. Of course, it's been a massive month of surfing for the World Surf League. We are just waiting with bated breath to watch that final day of the Vans World Cup of Surfing going down at Sunset Beach. That should be called on tomorrow. A big swell on the way. A couple of days left in that waiting period. We're going to see the QS champions crowned, and obviously the all-important qualification scenarios. And then we go into the last men's World Championship Tour event of the year. The Billabong Pro Pipe Masters kicks off on December 8th, and that waiting period goes through all the way to December 20, and a huge 3-way battle for the world title there between Gabriel Medina, Julian Wilson, and Felipe Toledo. We cannot wait to watch that go down. And
it's going to be, it's just going to be so exciting. I love that we have that finish once again at Pipe this year.
Yeah, and of course, big congratulations to Stephanie Gilmore and Lakey Peterson. What a great battle for that world title. Steph Gilmore getting her 7th at the Beach Wave at Maui Pro just a few weeks ago. And of course, we're still going to be crowning a world champion here, along with those longboard world champions we crowned just a short few days ago.
Yeah, so we saw Stephen Sawyer, the J-Bay local from South Africa, took out the men's division, and Soleil Errico from Malibu, California, with the women. So really graceful surfing. I say that, not to knock men's surfing, but really gracious approach from both of them from a longboarding perspective. Excellent footwork all the way through. They have really powerful, refined rail game on their turns, but their nose riding and their hang tens are so critical, so in the pocket, and so difficult that they really deserve to hold those world championships. And it's great. It was 2 new world champs on the longboard side of things, which means that for the last 6 years on the women's side, we've had a new world champion for the last 6 years consistently, which is kind of cool, passing the torch around between the girls.
Yep.
And then for the men, last year we saw Taylor Jensen claim his 3rd world title, which is pretty exceptional from the men's side of things. But great to see that Steven Sawyer put himself in the mix. He had a final a few years back, lost to Phil Rajman in China, so he was the runner-up to the world title, and now to come back. And I would expect a guy like Steven to carry this on and get multiple titles to his name in the future.
Yeah, great talent there in Steve Sawyer. Of course, the South Africans having a nice nudge all around the world with Grant Twiggy Baker taking out the Nazare Challenge a few weeks ago. Also finaled at Jaws. That event was won by Billy Kemper. And that's rounded out all the World Surf League's massive month of surfing. And of course, we've still got the Mavericks event, which is going to potentially run over the next over this winter. Plenty of weather bombs kind of happening this time of the year in the Northern Hemisphere winter. So plenty to look forward to. Big shout out to all the WSL staff who are maybe watching this back home in Santa Monica. It'll be late afternoon down there, and thank you for the opportunity, you guys, for letting us call this action, the world's best junior surfers. 9 minutes remaining in this run as Cole Alves still out in the lead. Jensen in second with priority, looking for a 6.93 to go out in front. Conditions here at Jinzun Harbour very different to what we've seen first 2 days. A bit of cloud cover today. We've seen 35 degrees Celsius weather up in the high 80s Fahrenheit the last 2 days. A bit cooler today. That wind jetting up from the north, and that swell direction, Shannon, also changed a little bit as we see a set starting to move down towards the southern bank.
Yeah, so there's still plenty of action in the lineup. Not a slow heat by any chance, but slower in the sense of getting big scores, as we see Lenny Johnson chasing a big score.
Well, looks like he's found something a bit more better is in terms of wave quality. Nice little snap out the gates there from Jensen. Opens up the shoulders for a little power wrap. Now this wave tapers here. It might find a connection that gets him onto the northern peak as the wave starts running towards that deeper water. Doesn't quite connect on that rebound and just disconnects from his board. And we see Alves kicking out on the outside too. I wonder what he got up to.
So we'll have to check the replay from Cole Alves. And as we wait for those scores to drop through, I am also thinking of the women's side of the Big Wave Tour. We saw Kiela Kennelly take out the win at Piahe. It was so big by the end of the women's finals that they had to call the event off for about 24 hours. So those girls were charging in just the most insane surf. And then also just a really cool kind of moving forward in the big wave surfing community for the Eddie Aikau of Alms and Kiela Kennelly have had the alternate options as we see that massive air. Does he make it?
It was huge. He rode out of that. It took a little time to roll out, but I just love how he got so tail high on that, and the whip in the air was nice and snappy. And also we have to have a look at that height. This is the wave here from Jensen.
All right, so nice opening check, but just to kind of gain momentum, this is a better wrap right into the pocket. Comes over that little section, but it continues to unravel nicely for him. So I like the rail game in this. This is where he gets a little bit caught up. He bounces off the foam, but it doesn't give that push back that he was looking for to really put on the power.
Let's talk about that air from Cole Alves. Love to see that again if we can. In that slow motion that we've been able to sort of break it down, because obviously these aerials, we've seen judges throw down 3s and 4s for certain types of aerials, and we've seen 7s and 8s thrown down for other kinds of aerials. So let's take a look at this one again, Shannon. Watch the height he gets out of this one. Tail high, huge rotation in the air, comes around 360 and then reverts out a little bit sort of clunky on the ride out. That's because there's so much white water around him, but the height that he got and the way that the tail was really projected out towards the beach super high, I think that's going to be one of those that goes up into that good range.
Awesome surfing from Cole Alves, putting it all on the line. So he had that 6-point ride, which was a combination of maneuvers, a turn, an air, and a turn at the end. Great to see him getting, like you said, those technicalities within the air game of getting extra height, of landing clean, all of that coming into play. So we do have a score to come through. Last of Lenny Jensen, couple good power turns, just a 4.3, which I think is reflective of the wave quality, not of his surfing. So he's still chasing a bigger score on a better wave as we see our surfer in the next heat.
Yeah, massive one coming up next. Eli Hanneman coming up against Luke Slipen. It's Hawaii versus South Africa next. That's coming up in about 6 minutes' time, but we are still waiting for a score to be dropped from Cole Alves' last aerial maneuver. It was nice and technical, a lot bigger than the one we saw in his first wave. Only a single maneuver, but we have seen solid scores being thrown down by the judges. Of course, judging panel Shannon, 5 judges on the panel at any given time. Highest and lowest scores are dropped out, so there's we kind of iron out any nuances in the subjectivity, and the middle 3 scores are averaged out to give you your total or your wave score, and then your top 2 waves are added together. And let's have a look now at live action. Just a little paddle there from Jensen.
So Lenny Jensen sitting in second priority, which means he can stay active. Cole Alves with first priority. He's got 2 scores to come through, 6th and 7th wave of the day for him, but that 6th wave is going to be the interesting one for us to see if it, how much it increases his score line for. Sorry, not 7 waves. He didn't have a one after that. We just had a little bit of a blue dot show up, and it has disappeared. But 5 minutes on the clock, waiting for a score to drop in for Alves, as Jensen is in second priority, currently chasing a 5.81, but I think that requirement is going to become even more difficult.
Yeah, I have to agree with you with under 5 minutes remaining now. Of course, judges do have the luxury of checking out the replays just to make sure they get it right. Looks like it's going to be Alves now. He's locking in his next wave. A little snap out of the lip there for the Hawaiian. Big open face wrap to rebound on his second turn. And now this wave starts to lose a bit of energy down the inside section. Gets really small, but he'll look for the inside tag. Again, whips the fins around for a little reverse. And it doesn't quite ride out cleanly on that one by Shannon. It is a 6.83 for that single maneuver. And the judges, I guess they're really understanding and breaking down the technical nuances of that air as opposed to the first one on that first wave.
Absolutely. So using his priority on this one, this is his last wave. The replay drives around that bottom section, goes nice and vertical. 12 o'clock on that first turn, gets wide out onto the face, gaining some momentum, coming through to the inside, so that wave really flattens out. He just gets a little workaround here, and he puts the finishing touches on, goes for that reverse. Doesn't ride out cleanly, though, so that wave just a 3.93. It didn't really open up for him to unleash anything, but he's sitting well in the lead with a 6-point ride early on and a 6.83 to back it up. Lenny Jensen now chasing an 8.53 to try and move through into round 3.
Yeah, you've got to say Jensen probably in real danger here of being eliminated now with 3 minutes to go. He just had one of those heats where he hasn't really been able to connect, even on that bigger set, that last one, the 4.30. And of course, he does have time and he has priority, which is a positive if you're a Lenny Jensen fan and you're in his corner. Luke Slipen from Llandudno in Cape Town, heading out this morning. He's put a wetsuit on. Maybe that cold water of Cape Town has got to his head and he's feeling like the cloud cover today is coming into play.
It's pretty funny because I would say Llandudno is the coldest place to surf in South Africa by far. It's this weird little pocket, this beautiful beach, but it's just this weird, it's always so cold there. He probably surfs at home in the coldest water out of any competitor at this event, but he's got to be surfing 20 degrees warmer water here.
Yeah.
He's wearing a wetsuit. What is he thinking?
2 minutes and 34 seconds on the clock. The Hawaiian Alves in picture now in the lead. 6.83 courtesy of a big air reverse and a 6.0. A beautiful succession of 3 turns. A lot of variety for his 6.0. Total heat score 12.83. Here he goes again. He's having a bit of fun now. He's got this air reverse on a string. There he goes again, winding up. A bit more of a lateral one. That's execution or that interpretation. Doesn't quite ride out of it, but he's feeling pretty secure now. I guess, Shannon, looking at the scores that he would have heard Jensen getting 3.17 to 4.3, he'd be feeling pretty confident right about now.
Absolutely. Jensen just hasn't had that breakaway, but Cole Alves looking strong, puts those fins out the back, puts a little stall on, so he's kind of playing around with things now, testing the limits as to what he's going to push into his next heat. Maybe we'll run round 3 today. We'll see how that wind kind of shapes up. We still have an hour and a half of surfing to get through this round 2. It is currently 7:30 a.m. as we tick down to the end of this heat. So by about 9 o'clock, we'll see if that wind is picking up and getting stronger or if it's going to kind of stay mellow to get into that round 3 for the men.
Yeah, that's right. Minute 25 on the clock. That northerly wind coupled with the northerly swell direction is providing some amazing ramps here. Here goes Jensen. Last throw of the dice for him, potentially. 8.53 is requirement. Goes on the first left hand of the day. It's a beautiful wall ahead of him. Big snap out of the gates. A lot of spray associated with that turn. A little up and over floater, but it's going to be a shutdown on that last section for Jensen. It's not going to be the 8.53, but a nice opening turn nonetheless.
So down to the final minute. We can hear our beach announcer, Aurelian, making sure the boys know what their situation is, know what their time is ticking down to. But Lenny Jensen is chasing a huge score, an excellent 8.53 to take the lead, which means he's going to have to put something massive out there. Cole Alves looking very strong to move into round 3. And yesterday afternoon we saw Dexter Muskins taking the lead over Max Elkington in that really slow heat at the end. That was a bit of a shame because it really, it had been pretty consistent throughout the whole day. Even in the heat prior to theirs, there were still some great sets coming through. but the ocean just went quiet. Max Elkington didn't catch a wave for about 16 or 17 minutes at the start of that heat.
Yeah.
And so that's why we called it off. But we still had an excellent morning kind of in afternoon before that. So great to see these guys in the water. Plenty of waves on offer with 5 seconds to go. Cole Alves will be taking it through into round 3.
Yeah, great dominant performance from Alves, you have to say. Started out strong and he locked away some nice progressive maneuvers throughout that heat. So Jensen will be eliminated from the event, equal 13th place for the man from Germany. And Cole Alves from Hawaii will book himself a place in round number 3. Great surfing there from the Hawaiian. We want to see more of that. And we're going to take a short break here from Jinzun Harbour. When we come back, it's going to be more round 3 action. We're going to bring in Chris Binns for the call. Don't go away, we'll be right back after the short break.
Okay, guys, in the water, I'm checking in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The heat is on. The heat is on. Heat number 10 of the round 2. Luke Swanson from South Africa. In red. Up against Ellie Hanneman from Hawaii Blue.
在台九线长长道路上，一旁就是那无尽的海洋。
台东 Start 旅行是一场灵感的捉迷藏。
台东是个美丽的地方，也是个很真实的地方。一起来寻找新的方向。台东 Start。
Morning and welcome back to Jinzun Harbour. We have the Taiwan Open of Surfing World Junior Championship action in the water right now. Luke Slipen from South Africa up against Eli Hanneman from Maui in Hawaii. And, a lot more hype around the youngster from Maui. Eli's generating a lot of buzz. He's just dropped a clip called 15. He just turned 16 a couple of weeks ago. 15 is obviously his body of work from his 15th year. So threw a backflip in the warm-up this morning. So he's a very highly touted young gun coming on strong. But Luke Slipen will be looking to take down. He is in the red jersey, so he is the top seed. And he would be hoping that this heat plays out according to form. Got a wave in already. This is Luke's opener.
So drives off the bottom into that first turn. Not able to get much projection or speed out of it though. You can see that wind coming into play, but gains some momentum going through to the inside. So he drops a 4.83 for this wave. Does he put the finishing touches on? He does, but he's just lacking a little bit of that speed at the start of it and getting that power on that first turn. I think that's where that score is reflective of. And as we wait for some other scores to drop through for those first couple of exchanges, we are going to jump down to the beach with Brad Bricknell and Cole Alves.
Yeah, thanks, Guy. Cole, yesterday you were in that heat that got called off, and I saw you yesterday. You were frothing. You still had to paddle out and get a few waves and get a bit of that energy out.
Yeah, I was pretty bummed when it was called off. I was super psyched up, but I got a couple fun ones. had a heat with 50 other people instead too. But no, yeah, I got a couple fun ones and then just got ready for today.
Well, let's talk about this morning's heat now. You got down here, obviously that northerly wind had come right up overnight, but it looked like that was something that you enjoyed, taking to the air on a couple of waves.
Yeah, I always liked side shore wind. It's easier to huck your board into the wind and get tail high, and it just helps it stick to your feet. So favors airs, and I really like that.
I just want to talk about those two scores. You got the first wave, a 6.0 with a combination of turns, a little flat air reverse in it, but that big 6.83 for one maneuver with the tail high reverse. Talk us through that one.
Well, it didn't look like such a good wave at first, and I just started pumping because I thought it could have something, and it was a weird section. I just hucked it, and when I landed, I didn't think I was going to land actually right out of it, and I kind of fought through the white water and then ended up riding out. So stoked, yeah.
Awesome, mate. I'm looking forward to more northerly winds because I want to see you in the air a lot more. Congratulations, you threw to round 3.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Back to you.
All right, cheers, Brickers. Looks like it is pretty breezy down there this morning. The northerly has come up a lot overnight. It's looking like it might hang around for most of what's left of the waiting period. One guy who won't worry about that is Eli Hanneman. He'll love the fact that blows into the right-handers, the young natural footer from Maui. He's got some work to do. Luke Slipen, the African Regional Junior Series champion, has opened up with a 4.83 and a 4.5 to be our early leader. Plenty of time remaining, 24 minutes to go. Eli just a minor score, a 1.83 and a 1.07 as his backup. Priority is with the surfer in red.
So Luke Slipen from South Africa, he comes from Lundundo, which is in Cape Town, the Cape Townian. It's one of the coldest spots in the whole country, actually. It's probably got the coldest water. It's just this weird little pocket that really connects with Atlantic currents. And it has this phenomenal right-hand barrel that I'm generally just a little bit scared to paddle out to. It's so cold and it's so heavy. So I would say if this was a barrel game today, Luke Slipen would easily have the upper hand. But that is not what the conditions have on offer. So it's going to be an interesting one as he takes off on this wave, races down the line, also shows his air game, pulls it out clean.
Yep, so the air reverse there, just front side grab, and puts that one down nice and clean. Didn't get a ton of pop, held his grab for a long time through the landing, which the judges don't necessarily enjoy too much, but that will go, might go into his top 2. Eli kind of sold him that wave, didn't really look like it offered too much. Eli took a couple of strokes and Luke went, whoa, I'm not letting you have a go at this. And he has got his 4th wave to his name.
So staying really active, Eli Hanneman with just a 1.83 and a 1.07. And he is now sitting with priority, though, so he will have the selection if a decent-looking wave comes through. Got to say, with the wind, though, it sounds like it's hard to tell if those waves are really going to open up as they take off. So I think that's why we've seen kind of multiple waves caught early on, just to kind of test and see what may develop.
Yep, it shuts down a lot of the sections as well, so we're not going to see as many of those longer-running or point break style waves on offer, but we'll see big sections, lots of ramps coming back towards the surfers. And for the natural footers in particular, they will be really looking forward to getting out there. I'll say that the goofies can't throw some big backhand hucks as well. The wind will just stick the board perfectly to your feet. We had Cole Alves say that in his last post-heat interview with Brad Bricknell. 22 minutes remaining, still waiting on that last score to come in for Luke Slipen.
Judges taking their time with that one, and I've got to say, although it's changed the conditions so much from what we've seen the last probably 6 consistent days here in Jinsun Harbor, I'm kind of thankful for that wind today and that cloud coverage because it is going to drop the temperature. Everyone's going to feel a little bit cooler and a little more relaxed to be down on the beach today cheering people on, and maybe see a little bit more neoprene in the water as well, as the water's really warm, but that wind chill factor definitely kicks in as the wind picks up.
Yeah, he said Luke Slipen comes from Lundundo, which is one of the coldest spots in South Africa, but he's rubbering up out there, which is surprising. I know some of the surfers have been surfing so much in the past week or so that they've got no choice. They're chafed and rashed and sore all over. I know my ribs are on their way to being sheared off altogether. All right, last wave for Luke Slipen comes in at a 6. Here goes Eli Hanneman, fleet-footed natural footer from Maui. You know that he's, well, you thought he was going to take to the sky. Instead, he's gone the other way with the big Larry layback. And he's sticking with it just to prove to the judges that, yep, I did indeed ride out of that one. Now he's going to pop up and see Luke Slipen. That's an even better air reverse than his last one. If he had some, if he served up some goodies before that, well, he could be looking at getting rid of his 4.83. So a 6 and a 4.83 sees Luke Slipen in the lead. 20 minutes, 20 to go. Eli Hanneman and Luke both with scores to come. So this is a nice combination. Well, tripped on his leg rope for a second. Didn't bother him right here though. Did that very nicely, got the tail a little bit higher, and I think that's going to go above his 6. Here we see Eli. You know he wants the ramp, but he's keen to show that he's got some turns as well. I really like that dynamic layback snap. Didn't come out of it quite as cleanly as he would have liked, but still that's going to be his best wave as well as we sneak down into the middle third of this heat. 10 minutes done, 20 to run.
So scores come through for Luke and Eli. We saw Cole Alves take the lead over Lenny Jensen in that previous heat. Coming up next, we've got Johnny Guerrero from Peru up against Eli Bukis from South Africa. So a few more heats at least to run through today. Crosby, Colapinto, and Makana Peng will be up in heat number 12 for this round, and that'll wrap up round 2. Maybe running into round 3, but if that wind continues to pick up, then we'll likely go on hold, potentially for the rest of the day, and come back again tomorrow morning. Seems to be that the mornings are, I think this is the windiest early morning that we've had since we've been in the country, Benzie. It's usually fairly glassy to start off with, and that wind kicks up maybe after 9 o'clock and gets stronger through that kind of mid-morning afternoon. But it was really howling through the night, and we can see that that's changed the conditions heaps. As we see Luke Slipen out the back with priority. Nice looking left-hander opening up. Puts some power in, drifts those fins a little bit. Can he make it around the section? And he does. Goes in for a second re-entry and just cruises through, hoping this wave will unleash something fun on the inside. Connects the dots, one more turn, and puts that finishing punch on.
Well, that was a fluent combination of manoeuvres from Luke Slipen there, showing that he's more than just a one-hit wonder aerialist on the right-handers. Showing off some real variety there. So 18 and a half minutes to go. Let's have a look at the replay. I really like this first turn. Clean off the bottom, threw plenty of water out of that top turn. Drove up vertically again, so he's really getting some miles into his surfboard. Sticks with this one all the way through to the inside. A couple more bonus little jams before he's done, and gets the closeout connection as well. So a fluent performance from Luke Slipen on his 6th wave. Still waiting on Eli's 3rd and Luke's previous, so we've got some big scores to come in. This one is far from settled with 17 minutes 45 to go.
So waiting on a few scores to drop through, and I'm just thinking about that as we see live action from Eli Hanneman. He's looking to square up for this bottom turn. Nice little check right in the pocket. Driving to gain some speed. And little check off the top, so this wave clearly not opening up for what he was looking for.
Yep, and looking to the hip and saying, "Why are you doing this to me?" So that wave not cooperating with Eli. The first turn was really nice. He went to lay into his second turn, got a little bit caught up and went, okay, I'm going to just get out of this one, cut my losses and aim for an end section ramp, which didn't eventuate, so that'll be a minus score for Eli. Probably going to his top 2, but won't affect the final outcome of this heat with 17 minutes to go. All right. Second last wave for Eli Hanneman. The layback was a 4.07, so I think the judges wanted to see him on a little bit bigger wave, and they wanted to see him come more cleanly out of that last manoeuvre. But still, an encouraging score all the same. Eli will know that's not his best, and he has a lot more to give. So a 4.07. We're still waiting on his last wave, which won't be up as high as the 4, and Luke Slipen could possibly add a couple more numbers to his tally with 16 and a half to go.
So I was in Japan for the ISA World Surfing Games, and the weather was pretty similar to this. Really warm water. Actually, I feel like it was even maybe a little bit more warm than this was at the time. And really hot, humid weather outside. Really sunny every single day. We didn't have really any cloud cover. And one of the guys from Canada, he tried free surfing with no booties and no wetsuit for a few days, but just couldn't figure it out because he has never surfed without a wetsuit and booties on. So he surfed every heat, ended up making it into, I think, the semifinals, quarters or semifinals. Really great surfer coming out of Canada. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he just said he couldn't figure out surfing without booties on. And so maybe some of those guys coming out of colder water, of course, dealing with like the chafe and rash of having surfed so many days without that, but feeling a little bit more comfortable, trying to make themselves feel like they're at home, even if the weather is completely the opposite.
Oh, there's nothing worse than being too hot in the surf, so I'd rather be cold. I would rather surf in boardies and a vest in freezing water than a steamer in warm water, no doubt about it. Alright, second last score in for Luke Slipen, a 5.83, pair that with the 6. He is our heat leader, still waiting on those last waves to come in for both of our surfers. We're halfway through this heat, 15 minutes to go. There is Luke Slipen's last wave, the long running left, a 5.67. Now we're seeing Eli Hanneman on the hunt for a 7.76. He's found himself a better looking wall, gets things going with a floater, out onto the face, draws his rail through a cutback. He's got that wide stance, means he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. And there it is, a quick little reverse on the end section. So he's not going to really garner too much in the way of points for that last manoeuvre, but some spicy stuff up the top of that wave. Kick things off with a floater, which isn't the most critical manoeuvre, more of a set-up turn. Then drew his rail through that longer carve, which is where a lot of the points for this wave will come from. It's not going to trouble the 7.76 he needs, but anything over a 4.07 will narrow the gap between him and Luke Slipen, who has a 6 and a 5.83. 14 minutes 20 to go. And fluky conditions here at Jinzun Harbour this morning. Plenty of swell, lots of wind. So there's Eli's floater to start off with. Nice turn, drove his rail through that one. Biding his time, really evenly paced wave this one. Gets the lightning quick little whip around on the end section. So that's going to be a decent number for Eli. We'll definitely go into his top two. Anything over a 4.07 will narrow his requirement for first. This is Heat 10, Round 2, Men's World Junior Championship action. We got through all of Round 2 of the women yesterday. There it is, last wave for Eli Hanneman, a 5.43, so very much back in the hunt. Now needs a 6.4 with 13 and a half minutes to go.
And Eli Hanneman was in that really stacked heat at the end of round one. He was up against Cade Matson, who took the win from St. Clemente, I believe, and Kehu Butler from New Zealand. And all surfers had about a 12-point heat total or more, which is pretty impressive. It was definitely the most stacked opening heat of the round, I think, up against maybe our third heat where we had Sammy Pupo, Crosby, Colapinto, and Kai Chandler all had really high heat totals. So yeah, that was definitely a tough one to come up against, which knocked him into this round two. So Kehu Butler, who also got knocked into round two, take a smashing win against Roy Kanazawa yesterday, kind of mid-morning, afternoon.
Yep, that was one of the performances of the round from Kehu yesterday. Just came out, was throwing away 5s, 6s, 7s, dropped in a high 7 and an 8 to put together the best heat total of the day. And it was a really strong performance. He said he was nervous. He definitely didn't look it in the heat. Here goes Luke Slipen, wanting to extend his lead, get rid of that 5.83. Strong first turn. He's got a section, racing it down the line, releases the tail, and unfortunately tail dives on landing. So that won't go into Luke's top two. Eli is missing from the lineup. I'm not sure if that means he's caught a wave or has yet to regain priority. Where is Eli? There he is.
So 12 minutes on the clock. We're down to the kind of pushing end of this heat so far, as we have a little recap, see what's been on offer so far. So that great big left, it really ran well for Luke Slipen, and in blue Eli Hanneman answering back on a smaller wave, but gets that reverse thrown in the mix. And Luke Slipen just going to town, grabs a rail, will come out clean from that one. So some great surfing from the boys so far. Big set coming through on the horizon. Eli Hanneman looks like he could maybe be in position for that second one. Luke Slipen stuck on the inside. And Eli having a look.
Yeah, well, what's he found here? It's white watery wall to begin with. Won't bother him one little bit. He's putting the foot down. He's eyeing off a section down the line. Can he get the ramp? You know that he so desperately wants to get a hold of. Throws a big tail high air reverse and loses his board in that strong cross-shore wind. So that's going to be a minor score for Eli. As we see a minor score coming in for last wave. Luke Slipen, a 2.53.
1.18.
So Luke Slipen still sitting in the lead with that 6-point ride and that 5.83 as we see this replay now from Eli. Frothy section that he takes off on, races his way down the line. Will it produce something? And he goes straight for that air reverse. The wind just blows that board off of his feet, unfortunately. So he's looking for something big, though, to get that score. He's chasing a 6.4. He's done well to put that 5.43 on the board. His first couple waves just throw away scores, but he definitely needs to replace that 4.07 in order to have a chance up against Luke Slipen.
Yeah, so Luke Slipen, South Australian Open Junior Champ and the African Regional Junior Champ. That is how he's graduated to the World Juniors here at the Taiwan Open of Surfing. He's a pretty friendly kid, Luke. You see him in the water and he's always quick with a smile and a positive word or two. Wished him luck as he was paddling out and he gave me a big grin and a thanks, brew.
And we've been talking about that South African crew all week. I'm sure that they are all represented, even though it's still very early in the morning and the girls will likely not surf today. They've got to all be down on the beach cheering them on. They've got a very good team dynamic between the ISA events and the WSL, these sort of events where the World Juniors and they have a full Africa team represented. So our Africa team this year coming straight out of South Africa specifically. We don't have any other nations within Africa represented, but I'm sure that's going to change in the future. I've got to say, living in South Africa myself for the last 6 years and having traveled between Mozambique and Namibia to some fantastic waves on those coastlines, I haven't been able to get anywhere north on the coast above Mozambique on the east or Namibia on the west coast. I've done a little bit of traveling in the middle of the country, the middle of the continent. To real Africa, as we refer to it, but it has got to be the most untapped wave heaven in the world. There are so many waves up the west coast of Africa, and they're becoming more discovered as time goes on. There's a lot of guys that are traveling through. We've got some friends from home that load up their trucks, their four-wheel drives that have the whole tent set up, and they can, proper kind of African-style safari camping, and just hit the road for weeks and months at a time to go up the west coast to look for waves. So it's going to be really exciting as the future goes on. Of course, we know Morocco is a hot surf destination on the northwest coast of Africa, but that kind of middle section of the west coast has so many waves. Luke Slipen, as he grows up, will no doubt be one of those guys that's exploring what is possible and what hidden gems there are.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out whether the Moroccans compete in the European region or if they're part of Africa.
Definitely maybe in the European region. So we get some Namibians and the Mozambique crew. There's some phenomenal surfers coming out of Mozambique, Tofu specifically. And there's this beautiful right-hand point. There's a few, Mick Fanning did a trip up there a few years back and really some really great footage. Warm water, very similar to this, right-hand points up the coast. But we don't really get them competing in the QS events within South Africa. It's mostly South African dominated, and we're getting a little bit more of that kind of international feel. I just saw on your screen a moment there, Benzie, that Zoe McDougall from Hawaii. She is dating Matt McGillivray, who's from J-Bay, but she comes over, and there's a good Australian, kind of Hawaiian, and Brazilian contingency that are starting to compete within the African QSs, which is really good for our kids in South Africa because it's starting to show them push the limits of their surfing as they're coming up against more internationals at home.
Right, yeah, well, I think I can confirm that the Moroccans compete with the Europeans, which would make sense. We've seen Ramsey Boukian fly the flag for the Moroccans in the past here at the World Juniors. I think it was he made the semi-finals in Bali a couple of years ago, losing to eventual world champ Jack Freestone. Ramsey very much knocking on the door of Championship Tour qualification. Big, powerful, goofy footer. Obviously has grown up surfing the right points around Agadir, Tagazout, south of Morocco. And he is a fantastic surfer who experienced plenty of success here at the World Juniors in the past. 6 minutes to go. Luke Slipen looking to book his ticket to round 3 has a 6 and a 5.83. Eli Hanneman with a 5.43 and a 4.07. Hot on his heels, needs a 6.4. Had a look at that one. Kind of forced Luke Slipen into the left, and it's gone down. He has gone down. Priority now flips over to the surfer in blue. So did Eli sell him a dud? It looked like Eli was had one eye on the right, and yet Luke has gone left, so he wouldn't have been keeping Eli off anyway. But nonetheless, 5 minutes 20 to go. Priority now flips over to the young Mawaiian? Young prodigy from Maui in Hawaii.
That's a good...
who needs a 6.4.
the Mawaiian. 5 minutes on the clock. And Luke Schleipen getting the better of this one so far. Just a 1.03 for that last one of Luke, a quick in and out. But Eli Hanneman knocking on the door, requiring a 6.40, and I would not put it past him to pull out some massive progressive surfing, innovative airs in order to gain that score. He hasn't really connected the dots on anything too exciting so far, but he is staying active and busy. Still 5 minutes on the clock. Beautiful left opening up. Seems like those lefts, because the wind is that north cross shore, the lefts are going to be a lot cleaner. The rights have that bump because of the wind, but the rights are going to allow for that aerial maneuvers, where the lefts, as we saw from Luke's second highest score, that 5.83, really running down the line a little bit more like a point break. So that's going to be kind of what we're seeing from the boys this morning. We do have 2 heats left in round 2 after this. Coming up next, Johnny Guerrero from Peru up against Eli Bucas from South Africa. So the 2 South Africans left in the mix on the men's side, and then we have Kai Wolf from South Africa left in the mix on the women's side. And plenty of Hawaiians doing really well as well. Gabby Bryan had a fantastic heat yesterday against our local wildcard, Leanne McDonald, who was knocked out in round 2. Rory McDonald also knocked out in round 2 yesterday, her older brother. So the 2 locals from Taiwan, showing us where the future of Taiwan surfing is heading. Rory nearly took out Joe Azuchi, who was the #1 seed coming into this event out of Japan. He was runner-up for the 2017 World Junior title at Kayama early this year, January, up against Finn McGill, who was our 2017 World Junior champion. But the wild card almost took out the #1 seed. It was quite close at the end there. He just couldn't find the right wave to get a better score. So we still see Joe in the mix. And our locals will be hanging around the beach. There's been quite a few of them in the water free surfing in the afternoons with us, which is really great. There's a great longboard culture here in Dongha, which is kind of the little town connected to where this little fishing harbor is that we're located at Jensoon Harbor. Lots of fishing boats that I can see out the window here. It's a really beautiful part of the country. There's a nice clean little wave also kind of tucked around the harbor wall. If you're looking on screen all the way around to the right hand side, it kind of gets tucked away and hidden, and it's nice and punchy on the takeoff, but it's also a little bit more mellow for the longboard community. And then a whole bunch of beach breaks that strip up the coast, down the coast to the south, and then up the coast to the north. Some good point breaks as well.
Tough day for the fishing boats. I'd imagine most of them are
Very
staying
tough day.
in the harbour today. It's windy and we've got some fairly rough seas. Looking like more of the same coming our way over the next couple of days. Will Luke Slipen be competing in the last few days, or will Eli Hanneman? There's 2 minutes to go. Eli is looking for a 6.4. Obviously, he is more than capable of locking in that score. It's just a question of when is he going to cash in his priority. Can he find himself the canvas that he needs to paint a few brush strokes and lock in that number? Minute 45 to go. Conditions have really changed. The first few days, beautifully clean, shorter period swell, tons of waves, just one after the other. Now the surfers are having to be a little bit more selective. Luke Slipen without priority, having a look at that one, decides he's not interested. 90 seconds to go. Eli Hanneman still on the look for a 6.4. He's gone right every wave so far. Now he's going to switch things up and go to his backhand. Hooks into that first section. Now he's racing down the line. Can he find a ramp? No. Releases the tail and goes down hard with a minute to go. So, priority and advantage to Luke Slipen. Now he's going to carve this one down the line. Gets a little stuck on his second turn. Races past Eli. Gets out of there. And we might see a bit of a paddle battle here. Or has Luke done enough? Yeah, so Luke having a look back. Just keeping an eye on where Eli is. We might see Eli spin around on the inside and take off on something, because with 40 seconds to go, he needs a bit of a miracle at this stage. 40 seconds, well, not a miracle. He needs a 6.4. Very, very attainable, but not many waves on offer. And it's looking like at some point Luke Slipen might pick up priority. Here's the replay of Luke's last wave. Probably not going to go into his top two. 20 seconds to go. Let's focus on the action. And, well, I'm not sure what Eli did on that one.
So Luke Slipen still sitting with the lead. Take us through this replay.
Yeah, so he goes the big layback, and unfortunately it goes down.
5, 4,
and there it is, looking like Luke Slipen signing off.
So Luke Slipen pretty confident he will take the win. We do have a couple of scores to drop through, but he had a fairly convincing lead with a big requirement, as he has a little check turn off the top, goes in for this big finish, smacks the lip, throws the fins out, and just shows some flair as he finishes off with his last wave. Congratulations to Luke Slipen advancing into round 3. And unfortunately, Eli Hanneman, the Hawaiian, knocked out, but we will see him doing great things in the future. And we're going to go to a quick break. We'll bring you back with live action and an interview with this guy.
Story. Powerful. Heavy. Legendary. Deadly. Definitive.
Taidong has the largest coastline among all of Taiwan's administrative districts, reaching as long as 176 kilometers, with 7 Aboriginal clans comprising 1/3 of Taidong's population, which is the highest ratio in Taiwan.
But this is the Taiwan Open of Surfing. We are deep into round 2 of the Men's World Junior Championships. In the water right now, Johnny Guerrero from Peru up against another South African, Eli Bukes. And we just saw South African Luke Slipen take the win over Eli Hanneman. If you are a video surf fan, a fan of surf videos, you would assume that's an upset. But Luke Slipen's got a couple of years of experience and a few kilos of body weight over Eli, and is the African Junior Series champion. So he was in the red jersey for a reason, and unfortunately Eli just couldn't get the wave he needed at the end of that heat. I'm sure we'll be seeing Eli back in action for many years to come. Here's Johnny Guerrero from Peru, a really feisty competitor, opening his account, and this is Eli Bucas.
Yeah, from South Africa as well. The Komaki region down in Cape Town, cold water, big slabs and big points. Big open ocean, big wave spots over there in Cape Town where Eli is from. And all these guys, Eli and Luke, as well as Max Elkington, all great mates from the same region down there. All going along pretty well. Of course, Maxie got knocked out yesterday. And here's that replay. Just nothing really much going on this one, Benzie. Real slow tempo to this wave, and not the ramps that we've seen out of those earlier heats today.
So early scores in. Johnny Guerrero 4.67 for that left. Couple of big stabs up into the lip and backed up with a 1. Eli Bucas a 3.33. So advantage, although not a massively significant one, to the Peruvian in the opening 4 minutes of this heat. No priority given yet, as both surfers are taking their way back to the takeoff area. And while we wait for the two guys to get back in the zone, let's cross down to Shannon Hughes, who's catching up with Luke Slipen, winner of the last heat.
Thanks, guys. Congratulations, Luke. Smashed that heat. Big one up against Eli Hanneman. How are you feeling going into it?
Thanks. This was a heat I really just wanted to give my all. I really wanted to make the next round. And I just went out there and gave it everything.
Great, and talk us through conditions today. It's really different than yesterday. How did you feel in the water, and do you prefer kind of these windier conditions for those airs, or do you prefer those glassy, clean mornings?
Yeah, thanks. I wasn't really thinking about airs, to be honest, but then we came down here and there was like quite a hard cross shore, and I mean, it's like such a good air wind, and like the wave is perfect for it, so you got to do it when you get the section. But otherwise it was super fun, and yeah, some turns as well.
Great, and having the South Africans behind you, you guys really seem to be a great team unit here. How does it feel with that encouragement backing you?
Yeah, thanks. That's also a big part of it. All the encouragement and the cheering and everything, it really gets me pumped. And it helps so much. It's super cool having them all.
And opting to wear some neoprene this morning, is that because you miss wearing a wetsuit back home in Lindundo, the coldest water in South Africa, or just because it's, a little colder out here today?
I was a bit chilly this morning in my baggies, but also I'm so used to having a wetsuit on. I was like, I might as well do it. It'll keep me warm, and then I'll surf the same probably. So yeah.
Great. And anyone back home you'd like to say hi to?
My family. I don't know if they will sleep in, and friends, but if they're watching, yeah, how's it?
Great. We'll keep up the good work for the next round, and we'll go back to you guys to take us through live action.
Thanks a lot, Shannon. And Luke Thompson, honestly, he's behaving like a little teenager.
Like a 14-year-old in the background that he is. And just some translation for you there, Benzie. Baggies means board shorts in South Africa.
Yeah, and shot means anything you want it to be, really.
Johnny Guerrero, 4.67. Hasn't this guy got a story? Johnny Guerrero from Peru, from one of the poorest places you'll see, and using surfing as a way to, as we see a lot of the Brazilians have too, as a way to set himself up for a new life. And this story, if you ever get a chance to talk to Johnny, he's an inspirational young kid, and fantastic to see him pushing it here on the world stage. Incidentally, too, Benzie, looking at the South American regional qualifiers, only 2 Brazilians out of there, and 3 Peruvians, 1 Argentinian. So just showing that the Peruvians are not letting those South Americans have it all their own way.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think if you look on the on the women's side of the draw, there isn't a single Brazilian woman here in Taiwan this week. So yeah, whether it's the Brazilians slipping or the rest of South America coming on strong, I'm sure the Brazilians would also point out that a lot of their teenagers are already on the world tour.
Yeah, that's right. And it is a good point you raised. There's definitely a bit of disparity there between the boys and the girls coming out of Brazil. Had a chance to talk to a few of the Brazilians about it. Part of it they're saying is something that they've identified and working hard at a real grassroots level to try and rectify. Others say that historically it hasn't been a cultural kind of thing for girls to follow this path, but certainly something that they're identifying as an opportunity for the future.
Well, just the anecdotal evidence, you spend enough time surfing, you'll run into lots of Brazilian women bodyboarding. So maybe that's the path they choose to go. Now we saw Taina Hickel from Brazil
last year.
competing last year in the World Juniors, and she's popped up from time to time as well as a wild card in the CT event in Rio.
That's right.
Of course, Tatiana Weston Webb, well, she jumped ship from Kauai over to Brazil, so she'll be flying the Brazilian flag at the Olympics in 2020, and it's looking like she has already qualified for the Olympics, I believe, and Silvana Lima, if she can re-qualify, Brazil would probably get 2 surfers on the tour.
They still have to surf in the ISA Worlds as representing their country as part of that qualification process, and that's due to the 2 world bodies, WSL and ISA, working together for that qualification process. So 2019 is going to be a big year for everybody as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, so 2019 is the qualification year for the Olympics, but you can say if Tatiana and Silvana qualify, then they're automatically going to qualify because they're guaranteed being the top 2 ranked Brazilian surfers, and as long as Brazil goes to the ISAs, then that's how that one will play out. I think as well, if Kanoa Igarashi he has qualified for next year's World Tour, so he will automatically be the top ranked Japanese surfer, so he has already qualified for the Olympics. I think they're probably the only 2 or 3 at the moment who are locked in. Geordie, I guess, for South Africa, would be the only South African representative next year, unless Mikey February wins pipe. Could happen. Never know.
Could happen. Let's have a look here, live action. This is Eli Bucher's up and riding. Big snap out of the gates there for the powerful South African from Komiki in Cape Town. Freezing cold water where he comes from all year round. And he banking this one through the inside section. A couple of the lefts coming into play over the last 2 heats, Binsey.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit more sheltered from the left. So it's almost things have flipped from what we've seen the previous day. The last couple of days have been long running rights and shorter lefts going into the oncoming right from the southern peak. Now with the wind just straight into the face of the right, we're seeing a lot shorter rights with sections and ramps, and the more sheltered lefts are running a little bit further down the beach. So an interesting reversal of conditions here in Jinzun Harbour. This is a nice wave for Eli Bukas.
Yeah, looking in to lock in his second wave here, Benzi. A 3.33 was his opening wave. Guerrero with the opening advantage, 4.67 and the 5.10. 20 minutes to go. This is the second last heat of the round, and we've got one more heat to come up after this one in men's round 2. Crosby Colapinto up against Makana Pang from Hawaii, up against California. And we'll hopefully be hearing that call from Will Hayden-Smith relatively soon as to whether we continue today, and if we do continue, whether it's men's or women's round 3 action.
Yep. Going back to that Olympics scenarios, sounds like Ricardo Christie from New Zealand has qualified for next year's World Tour, which I guess would see him automatically qualifying for the Olympics as NZ's best surfer at the end of 2019.
Yeah, 10 slots available for men's and women's from the WCT.
Here goes Eli through to the beach, releasing the tail. Nicely done. He's got a 4.37 and a 3.33. You'd imagine that'll go close to ditching the 3.33. He's looking for a 5.4 because Johnny Guerrero has a 4.67 and a 5.1. 19 minutes to go.
Just a little wrap to start off with. Wave lacking a little bit of energy over here, so he's got to kind of make his own speed. He pumps through this inside section, pumps out the fins there, doesn't quite spin around reverse, and just rides out in the normal fashion when those fins bite, and that'll be his wave number 3. Johnny Guerrero 5.10 on that last left-hander, and we've seen a couple of great airs already today. Benzi looking forward to seeing a few more if we do carry on with round 3 this afternoon.
Yeah, and here goes the surfer in red, Johnny Guerrero. Long drawn out bottom turn. I really like that. He was eyeing off the lip. Repeats the treatment a second time. Throws plenty of water, so that was a great turn. Found a really nice section to tee off on, and again, so 4 quick turns for Johnny Guerrero. 2 carves to get things going, and then 2 more sort of lip release manoeuvres down the line, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, here we go. Nice square bottom turn to open up. A little sort of sticky out the gates there for that first turn. Nice little slashing tail sliding turn on the third, and this is where he really lights up. 2 turns in succession to finish off. Nice and powerful on those closing turns, and Johnny Guerrero looking to drop that 4.67, and that will be his 4th wave ridden today. Bucas with priority out the back.
I think we might see Johnny Guerrero extend his lead on the strength of that last wave. Bucas' last wave of 3.83, and here he goes looking to get rid of that score. He's found a longer running left down the beach once again. He's driving through his turns, and now the wave gives up on him and he gives up on the wave. So
mutual agreement.
Yeah, scores to come in for both surfers with 17 minutes to go.
Yeah, like what I'm also seeing here from Eli Bucas. Haven't seen much of him before. And of course, as you see with a lot of these South African surfers, really powerful on his feet. This turn here, once he makes it onto the open face, is good. Yeah, gets it back into that power source, redirects the board, but the wave, unfortunately, like you said, dissipates, and he decides no more opportunity. But Johnny Guerrero has locked in his best wave, bins here 6.17 on his last one. So that's going to push that requirement out from Bucas to 6.9. Will get him into the lead. He's not going to get a 6.9 on that last wave, but he now knows what he's up against. As here goes Johnny Guerrero.
Yeah, looking to get rid of that 5.1. This wave hasn't really stood up so far, so he's just turning his way towards the beach. That was a nice release. And now whips around a lightning fast air reverse. Can he stand back up out of this? He sure can. So the landing wasn't amazing, as we see Eli hacking away on this smaller left. I need to see what Eli did up the top to work out what sort of number that's going to earn. But Johnny Guerrero, so quick through that rotation, got the tail high and spun it around. And that is going to be a good replay. The judges will be watching a bunch of replays right now, trying to break down exactly what's happened over the last 3 waves. 16 minutes to go.
Yeah, nice surfing there from Guerrero. Almost caught me by surprise that last turn. I didn't think he had enough speed to get the amount of whip that he did. And we'll break it down a bit more once we have a look at that replay. I was even thinking to myself, that board looks a little bit long as he sort of went through the opening motions of those of that wave, but then he kind of really surprised with that big whip around and that air reverse. So we'll take another look at that shortly. I think this might be it. No, this is the wave from Bucas again, favouring those left-handers, getting a bit stuck on that turn. There's a nice up and over from the big South African. Squares out the shoulders, but again, that wave is losing a bit of energy. And judges don't like to see that. They like the speed and the flow and the power all combined together seamlessly. But this is the way from Guerrero now. As Benzi said in the live, a bit of a slow tempo to start with. That's a nice snap. This is where the board looks too long, but he does a big whip out there. That tail goes down first, the fins bite, and he reverts out beautifully and executes that one. He has the super slow-mo, nice square bottom turn that you can see the big snap, kicking up a lot of spray in that northerly wind. And now we just telegraphs this turn, the leading arm, leading the way, gets the tail high, reverts out. Wow, nice, almost full rotation there. But lands out, and he'll ride this one out. So let's see wave number 5 from Guerrero. Where is that going to sit?
Yeah, the landing is going to cost him a little bit. If he just absolutely smashed that one down on the bolts and stood straight upright, he would have been looking at something up near the excellent range. Having to sort of squat through it and use his strength to get back up is going to cost him somewhat. But still, fantastic spatial awareness just to spin that thing, whip it lightning quick through the rotation, and expect a decent number to come in for Johnny Guerrero. 14 minutes to go. Still waiting on the last 2 scores for Eli Bucas. Second last was a 3.57. That doesn't affect anything. And now all eyes are on the last wave of Johnny Guerrero. There it is, a 6.6, so the best wave of the heat so far. And you just think if he had really stomped that landing, he'd be looking at a 7+. Eli Bucas, a 4. Goes into his top 2, doesn't change the standings. So as we're sitting right now, Johnny Guerrero with a 6.17 and a 6.6 is our heat leader. Eli Bucas has a 4.37 as his high. He needs an 8.4, so the job's just got a fair bit more difficult for the surfer from South Africa.
Yeah, I think for Eli, he's got to really look at his wave selection. He's going to have an opportunity here. He doesn't go onto this one, but I think a few of those left-handers can be a bit tricky. You know, with that wind almost running behind you when you're riding on that section, while you're using some cleaner face, it also kind of wreaks a bit of havoc with those sections coming down, and timing is very critical. And you see Eli has struggled a bit with that on his backside. I'd like to see him go right and just find one of those big wedges and see what he's got for us on his forehand. 13 minutes remaining. He's up against it, so he might as well throw everything he can at it.
Yeah, Johnny Guerrero chasing some lines now. Eli Bucas, we've seen him do most of his work on the left so far. He's gone right this time and opens up. Beautiful first turn and finds a lovely section to drive through. Again, 3 big blasts. Johnny Guerrero on the wave behind. This is a slightly slopier wave. Hasn't had the sections yet that Eli has, but has that amazing, just spring-loaded aerial in his kit bag. Not sure what Eli did to sign off on that wave, but I think he's easily got the better of that exchange. Those first 2 turns were sizzling.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I wanted him to do, was find that right hander, open up those shoulders, get that power brand of surfing out onto the open face. He can really engage that rail on your front side with that back foot pressure that he throws down. Let's break this one down. Look at the size of this one. Nice bigger wave. Power turn, releases the rail, it bites again. Open face carve into the pocket. Doesn't get a huge finish over here, but nice little click turn. And again, just punches the fins out there and semi-rides out of that one. So like you said, Benji, definitely his best wave of the heat and probably the better of this exchange. We see Guerrero falling on this one. Little carve back into the pocket. The wave, not a lot of energy to work with. Tries to spin that board right around, and unfortunately no ride out there. So standing by 217 lasted Guerrero, and standing by for lasted blue Eli Bucas. His best wave of the heat coming up.
Oh, comfortably. Yep, this is going to threaten for the best wave of the heat so far. An 8.4 would see him into the lead. Not sure it'll be quite that high, but this is going to be a wave that makes this heat a very much a live ball game. Just those first 2 turns, just beautiful bowling, a little bit cleaner as well, so he's able to drive through and throw plenty of spray. And maybe the wind's backed off slightly. Just a quick lull. It's gone from gale force to just stiff onshore.
You can tell the top on the side of our office is not blowing right into the side of the desk for the meantime as it was when we first got down here this morning. So scores in there, 6-point ride, Benzi. It's just under the best wave, the second best wave of Guerrero's, and certainly for Bucas is his best wave, now requiring the 6.77 to go into the lead. Guerrero though with priority, and interesting to see. I haven't really seen much of Johnny's air game. I've seen a lot of him using that rail to great effect, but just the amount of whip that he gets out of those turns is pretty impressive, isn't he?
Yep, I've only ever commentated one event that Johnny's been in before, and that was at Cloud9, so I didn't see much of his air game there either. He was just parked in the tube the whole time. 10 minutes to go. An interesting comparison between those 2 waves. Eli's gave him that beautiful clean section where he's able just to lay it on rail.
Yeah, that's his second turn on that one, using that rail like you said, Benzi, and he gets this little oncoming section over here. I thought this might be the last turn. He gets another little bonus one after this one, but really putting a lot of power into that. And so for him now, he has to go for those right-handers. There are the better waves out there from what we can tell, and certainly I feel like it matches his style a lot better in these conditions.
Yep, and the wave behind Johnny Guerrero's, it just had that big rib that came through it. So Johnny came off the bottom, and we're all looking for the same turn that Eli's just done, really driving through that open face carve, and all of a sudden his board flattened out, and he sort of had to, lay it up and couldn't really push it. And in the end, he's gone for the air reverse and grabbed himself a 2.17. So Eli Bucas very much the better of that exchange, but so far not the better of this heat. He needs a 6.77. We've just seen an able demonstration that he's more than capable of it. 9 minutes 10 seconds to go. This is very much a live ball game, and under priority, Eli's found a clean wall. He's racing down the line. Can he take to the sky? He sure can, and unfortunately goes down on that. We hear the big contingent from South Africa underneath us groaning as it looks like he was 90% of the way done with that one.
That was very strange. It looked like he had ridden out of that one, and for some reason he just hopped off. That is the South African team all huddled down together. 1.37 and well, that would have been a score, you're going to say better than the 4.37 if he landed. He was pretty tweaked out in this one. Like I said, Benzi, nice clean face. He projects out onto the lip over here, gets a nice big rotation, no grab, tail high towards the beach, starts to revert out, and that's where he just couldn't hold on. He was crouching really low down on his board, and I thought he had it for all money, but something went wrong.
All right, that is Makana Pang making his way out for the next heat, the last heat of the round, heat 12. He'll be up against Crosby Colapinto, and I reckon there would be about 1.5 feet of difference between those two. Crosby is a big, tall kid. Makana very much short on stature, but it is going to be an evenly fought affair. Crosby from San Clemente, California. Makana Pang from the North Shore of Oahu. And the natural versus the goofy footer. So all sorts of contrasts in play in the next heat, which will be in the water in about 8 minutes' time.
Yeah, no doubt. His brother Griffin will be watching from Hawaii, supporting his younger brother. Had an amazing debut year as a rookie. As you see Crosby now making his way down there. Look at the resemblance. Almost could be twins, those two boys. And started out amazing last year, did Griffin with the final place there against Julian Wilson at Snapper Rocks. Ended up down at Kira, Binzi, you were there.
Yep, definitely was. Griffin had never surfed Kira before. The first wave he ever caught out there was a crazy triple barrel where he came over a double up section, got barreled again, came out, and I was like, all right, looks like I found my feet. And then he paddled out in his first ever heat at Kira and dropped a 10. Incredible performance. All right, this is Eli Bucas needing to get back into this one with a 6.77. Not going to happen on that wave. Didn't matter. Didn't have priority. So Johnny Guerrero is sitting with priority. 6 minutes 40 to go. He wants to get rid of a 6.17 and make the task that little bit tougher for Eli Bucas. And this is a very even affair. Where's Johnny off to? He's heading to the north, possibly chasing one of those wider peaks that can run down the point a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a good point. We know when we first got down this morning, it was the sort of mid-peak that was completely in play. It looked like the northern peak was completely out of the question. But as the day has gone on, we have seen a few more waves breaking up on that northern peak. Of course, this cobblestone bottom, not quite a beach break, not quite a point break, pretty unique in its setup, sitting on the ocean side of a man-made harbour wall.
The other factor that comes into play with this strong northerly is you then get a drift or a sweep from north to south. The first couple of days of the longboarding contest, it was like they were moonwalking. They were just paddling and going backwards the whole time. You would never see a surfer sitting on their board because as soon as you sat up, you're a million miles down the beach. Yeah. Obviously, the swell is not anywhere near the size that we saw for the first couple of days of the longboarding, and this is why you can see guys paddling left to right occasionally, but yeah, expect for some of that to show its head once again as this northerly looks like it's sticking around. Tomorrow going to be a more mild day on the wind front, and I imagine that we will run a huge day tomorrow to really try and get through as much of the contest as possible, because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's looking almost gale force down here. Although the forecasts on the wind side of things haven't necessarily been spot on throughout this window. So we're hoping that the forecasts are over-exaggerating everything, except for the swell.
Yeah, that's right. Plenty of swell on tap this whole week. Not going to see any flat days. It's more about just choosing the optimum conditions for the world's best juniors. You see a lot of wind across the face there, and a few of those dark clouds out on her horizon, facing due east. And of course, as Lindsay was saying, that sweep from north to south is generally from left to right of your screen, heading down towards the right-hand corner. So you get a pretty good overview here of the lineup. And also, Binzi, one of the things we've seen here at Jinzun is there have been a few pulses, there have been a few lulls, and then all of a sudden you'll see 10-15 minutes of continuous waves coming through. And, it's one of those things where you've got to adjust your strategy on the fly if you're in these heats. And also, depending whether you've got the lead and priority, will determine which way you go.
Yep, you'll see two or three heats of nothing but non-stop waves, and then you'll have a heat like the one we saw with Max Elkington and Dexter Muskins last night that led to the event being called off. Max sat for 20 minutes without catching a wave. Dexter, I think, had sort of a 4 and a 5, and he was saying last night he would have been more than happy if it went flat at that point.
As you do.
And so competition was called off, and then of course 50 people paddle out for a free surf, and there was no shortage of waves last night.
That's absolutely right.
Shortage of waves for you and
I
I.
was going to say that you and I were struggling, trying to get a few under priority last night. Were the Binsey and Brickers show, and there wasn't much to watch. I can tell you that much. 3 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in this one. Guerrero leads with priority. Bierkus second, looking for the 6.77. And just getting back to that region in Cape Town, Komaki, where these guys are from, there is a break there that's called Sunset. It's probably the baby sister to Dungeons, which is a few kilometres away at the entrance to Hat Bay. We've seen a lot of big wave action, and Grant Twiggy Baker honing his skills, but a huge community of big wave surfers down there in Komaki. And here we go, live action. Bierkus just in and out of that one. Matt Bromley from down that way, we saw him charging some amazing surf at Nias throughout the course of this Northern Hemisphere winter. And like I said, a great underground community of big wave chargers from Komaki. Freezing cold water all year round. And these guys, Max Elkinson and Luke Slipe, and the three amigos from that area. Here we go, live action.
Yep, Johnny Guerrero almost just taking this one to keep Eli off it. Not a lot on offer, and he is going to kick out of that with a minus score to his name. All right, so priority flips over to Eli Bierkus. Did Johnny Guerrero really need to go on that one? I'm going to say no.
I think he's left the door open here for Bierkus. Of course, you can only do as much as the waves allow you to. So from a Bierkus point of view, the 6.77 requirement's well within his reach. He just has to find that quality wave that will be the highest scoring wave of the heat so far if he lands it. But we've seen that with that 6.0, he's certainly got the skills to pull it off. He just now needs the opportunity.
Yeah, so a minute 45 to go. And speaking of sunset, the Vans World Cup is off again today, but there's a huge swell building overnight. I was just talking to Travis Logie, WSL Deputy Tour Commissioner, and he's saying it could be tomorrow, it could be Thursday local time, which I think it's
stay behind.
We're in the future here. That is... It's finals day. They're down to the round before the quarters. 4-man heats, 32 surfers remaining. They're going to smash through that. And by the end of the next day that's run at sunset, we'll know who our favourites are for the Triple Crown, who's qualified or more or less qualified for the 2019 World Tour, and who will have some work to do at Pipeline to re-qualify through their championship tour rankings. Right now, Johnny Guerrero looking to seal the deal on what's been a pretty good performance from the Peruvian. He's found a longer running left, and he's sticking with this one. Can he get a link up through to the inside? It's looking that way. And there he goes, smashing it on his backhand. He'll bring that one into the beach. He is a long way from the takeoff area now. There's no chance of him getting out the back.
Yeah, great wave here for Guerrero. Let's have a look at this left hand, nice and smooth on the face. Little setup turn, little carve down. This is where he gets a little bit more critical, putting a lot of that power that he has in those thighs to good work. Thinking the wave might have been over here, but he manages to get a little bonus section on the end here. Puts the garnish on the salad, and a little top turn shut down to close out wave number 8 for him. And looking like he might close out the C2 because no more opportunities on the outside there for Eli Bierkus. Guerrero coming in, he will be booking himself a place in the third round, and Eli Bierkus unfortunately getting an equal 13th place here. $1,000 prize money and some great memories of his time in Taiwan, no doubt.
Yep, that's a decent amount of dumplings here in Taitung City. All right, I'm going to go down and have a chat to Johnny Guerrero. Shannon Hughes is going to step in for the call in the last heat of this round. Crosby, Colapinto and Makana Pang. That's coming our way right after this. Don't go anywhere. More action from the Taiwan Open of Surfing World Junior Championships coming your way.
在台九线长长道路上，一旁就是那无尽的海洋。
台东 Start 旅行是一场灵感的捉迷藏。
台东是个美丽的地方，也是个很真实的地方。一起来寻找新的方向。台东 Start。
Welcome back to a windy morning here in Taiwan. Of course, we're at Jinzun Harbour for the Taiwan Open of Surfing, and you're watching the WSL World Junior Champs. Brad Bricknell here alongside Shannon Hughes for the call. We're into the last heat of men's round two, heat number 12. Crosby Colapinto from USA up against Makana Pang from Hawaii. A great matchup here on paper, and certainly with that northerly winds and those little right-hand wedges, Shannon, we are hoping to see these guys take to the skies.
Absolutely. It's been a great day of surfing so far. Well, a great morning. It's only been about 2 hours of live action that we've had, hour and a half. And we are into our last heat for this round. Great decision from our commissioner to put us on hold yesterday afternoon. It had gotten really slow. There were still some great sets coming through, but it was really long waits in between. And this morning it's proved to be very consistent. Lots of heats in, lots of waves per heat, not heats per waves. So Crosby Colapinto up against Makana Pang.
Yeah, looking forward to this one unfolding. We've seen some nice aerial antics all morning with those northerly winds. Of course, these kids don't mind the cross shore, particularly on these right-hand wedges. Colapinto from San Clemente, California. An incredible hotbed of talent coming out of that place right now. There's a bunch of kids in this event that have really put their name up in lights as far as international stars are concerned, or future stars of our sports concerned. Of course, Griffin Colapinto, if you're listening over in Hawaii, your brother is in the water, and of course we're going to see Griffin coming up in the first heat of round 4 over at the Sunset Beach event. He's up against Joel Parkinson, Leo Nada, Fioravante, and Wade Carmichael. Big heat there for Griffin, who's had a great rookie year on the World Championship Tour. And of course, Makana Pang will be, I'm sure, in a bit of a state of flux, considering the swell that's about to be hitting the North Shore. He's from Hawaii. He's still in the draw over here, and got a great opportunity here to show us what he's made of.
Yeah, it's always a little bit hard being away from home when you know that there's good waves there. Even if there's good waves wherever it is you're traveling to, if you're on a surf trip or a contest trip. But it's always a little bit of a heart twinge when you know that home is firing and you cannot be there.
Alright, so no waves ridden in this heat so far. 26 minutes remaining. 30-minute heats for these round 2 matchups. We're going to be talking to Johnny Guerrero soon, the winner of that last heat, and also going to be getting a call from our commissioner, contest director for this event, Will Hayden Smith, as to what we're going to be doing for the rest of the day. Our call has not been made just yet, and this will be the last heat of the round, and then we'll decide whether we A, go on hold, B, run with men's round 3, or C, go with girls round 3 action. So plenty of options here. Like we said, the forecast is good as far as waves and swells concerned. The wind is the factor we've got to consider.
Absolutely. And just thinking about those rookies on tour, of course, Griffin, got to be a name that a lot of young guys are looking up to at this stage, being that he's one of the youngsters and he's had such a good season, and just has set such a good example of what a rookie is capable of. But Caroline Marks, she has got to be just the coolest kid in the world to come through and just walk through that opening year on tour. I think 15 years old when she qualified, and I've been chatting to some of the girls down here, and the name Steph Gilmore comes up so often as heroes. Bethany Hamilton, those kind of girls that have been around and kind of the legends in the scene. But Caroline Marks has been a consistent name this year, which is really cool to see that those young girls are looking at someone who's the same age as them and what she is capable of. And that's really giving them the encouragement to continue pushing the limits and to surf the way that Caroline is surfing.
Yeah, so true. I mean, we're seeing a lot of these stars starting their international careers so much earlier than we used to back in the day. And that's a result of people starting surfing when they're 3-4 years old and getting introduced to the ocean. And what an amazing lifestyle and life that it sets up for you. I'm very blessed to be able to say that we are centering our life and our careers around the ocean. These guys are waiting to get their heat underway. Still no waves ridden, no action in this last heat of men's round 2. Crosby Colapinto up against Makana Pang. It's San Clemente, California up against Hawaii. 24 minutes remaining on this one. Still waiting to find out what we're going to do for the rest of the day.
So we saw some really great conditions the last couple of days, the first 2 days of this event's waiting period. Really clean mornings, wind that held off really well throughout the entire day, and now that forecast has totally shifted, which on the good side, the positive side, it's brought cooler temperatures to us. That wind is definitely cooling things down on the beach. A lot of guys opting to wear some neoprene in the water today because it is a little bit chillier, but that's nice. It's almost more comfortable. Benzie was saying, to surf when it's a little bit on the colder side than it is when you're overheating. Especially when you're overheating on the beach as well. A little bit more sun protection today with that cloud cover, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a thankful relief, although we are missing out on those nice glassy mornings.
All right, so 23 minutes remaining, still no action out here. We're going to throw it down to Chris Benz, who's down on the beach with the winner of that last heat, Johnny Guerrero, and potentially we're going to hear from our contest director as well, Will Hayden-Smith. Over to you, Benzi.
Thanks, Brad. Yep, down here with the winner of last heat, Johnny Guerrero, who's put in a fantastic performance in tricky conditions. We've got his coach, Herman, here, who's going to do some translating for us. So tell us a little bit about having to adjust for today's conditions.
Cuéntanos un poco cómo te ajustaste a las condiciones de hoy.
Sí, las condiciones estaban difíciles. Estuve con mi coach viendo qué podíamos hacer, planteamos una buena estrategia, funcionó y feliz de que mi surfing se haya desenvuelto como quise en estas olas.
There was hard conditions. He was talking with his coach to make a right strategy, and it worked it out for him. He feels happy for it.
And how are you enjoying your Taiwanese experience so far? Enjoying this part of the world?
¿Qué tal te parece Taiwán? ¿Estás disfrutando acá de esta parte del mundo?
Sí, Taiwán es un sitio increíble, olas por todos lados, unos beachwears buenazos y me estoy divirtiendo bastante. Quiero mandar un saludo a mi gente del barrio que siempre me está apoyando, a todo el Perú y a la gente que me apoya, a Hurley por hacer posible todo esto, a la Fenta y a todos mis auspiciadores, tubos, gracias por todo.
He's having a lot of fun here. He says a lot of beach breaks, he loves the waves, he's having a really fun time. And he like to say thanks to all his sponsors, like Hurley especially, and all his friends from his neighborhood. Say hello and thanks.
Okay, last question. There's more Peruvian surfers than Brazilian surfers here at the World Juniors this year. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with the push in Peru.
Que este año hay más peruanos que brasileros en el World Junior y que cuentes un poquito qué está pasando en Perú, cómo así pues, ¿no?
Sí, buenazo. El anteaño pasado clasificamos yo y Sol y luego los demás se pusieron las pilas, entrenaron fuerte y increíble que haya más peruanos. De hecho, cada vez están llegando más, estamos sólidos, poco a poco estamos llegando.
Yeah, I say a couple years ago, last year, he and Sol were the only competitors here. But so that motivated the rest of the Peruvian crew, and they were training hard and doing their best. And now there are more Peruvians here, and they're getting stronger. And hopefully they feel strong, and hopefully they'll do better in the future. And now,
well, the Peruvians are through to the third round. Congratulations, well done.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to let these guys go and bring in our contest director. Thanks, guys. Will Hayden-Smith, speaking about the conditions. Will, what are we looking at right now, and what are you thinking we're going to do with the contest?
Yeah, so we're seeing, for how windy it is, it's surprising how clean the waves are, but we believe that the outgoing tide's sucking a lot of energy out of the swell, so we're going to go on hold until 10:45, and that'll be the bottom of the tide, and then when it turns, we think we're going to see a bit more push in the swell. So there's potential that men's round 3 or women's round 3 could be on this at about 11 o'clock.
So local time's about 8:30. We're going to hold for about 2 hours?
Yeah, about a 2-hour hold, and we think that we're going to see improved conditions, which will set us up to be really selective over the next 2 or 3 days after that.
Okay, so it looks like we need to get our boards and get out there, do some research. All right, back up to you guys in the box. Cheers.
Thank you, Benzi. Thank you, Will Hayden-Smith. Not sure is that the real Will Smith. We will get
the real Will Smith.
He's standing up and being counted. But there, the news. You've got it live here from Jinzun Harbour. We are going to be going on hold after this heat, and I think that's a good call as we see the tide maybe taking effect here. We've only seen one wave being ridden, a 1.17 from Makana Pang here, Shannon. Definitely seen contestable surf all morning long. But certainly the last couple of heats we've seen the energy dissipate as we see live action here. This is not Makana Pang. Much better looking wave for him than the first left-hand that he got. A nice two-turn combination, solid on his feet, and he locks in his most meaningful wave. Only the second wave ridden in this whole heat with 20 minutes to go.
Yep, so slow, it's really slowing down. Like Will said, that energy is being sucked away as that tide drops, and we've noticed that at this break it's really quite consistent within that. So as it turns and starts to push through, it'll get more consistent, and we'll see a lot more waves like this. So nice opening turn from Makana and a good closeout finish. So putting a two-turn combination together, that's really good at this stage with 19 minutes on the clock. We're now waiting for Crosby Colapinto to get his opening ride.
Yeah, that's right. So 2-hour break after this one, and then we still are not sure whether we're going to continue with men's round 3 or women's round 3 action. So all surfers need to stick around And I'm sure, like we said, it'll be an opportunity for us to go out in the into the ocean and just test out these conditions. While there are probably not enough waves of high quality in the 30-minute slot, certainly in 2 hours we can get a couple between us, Shannon, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
18 minutes on the clock, and of course, just looking out of the North American qualification status, Tyler Gunter from the USA, Crosby Colapinto, Cade Matson and Aiton Osborne are the boys that have qualified out of there. But we also have Cole Hauschman in the mix. He's been allocated the wild card from the WSL, one of the wild cards from the WSL. So we've got 5 surfers from the US in this event. And looking at Hawaii, obviously in this particular contest, Shannon, Hawaii stands alone in its own region.
And that's great to see. You know, there's such a long-standing history of Hawaiian surfing, and so many of the top surfers, the world champions, have come from Hawaii before. So I still really like that there is that distinction within the WSL, Hawaii and the U.S. represented separately. And that's starting to shift in the ISA, though, where Hawaii and the U.S. are now just one region. Especially going into that focus on the Olympics, where with the Olympics, Hawaii won't be allowed to stand alone as it's not its own nation. And the kind of technicality behind that is that for the ISA, the nations to now represent, if it's an event that is a potential qualifier for the Olympics, that nation has to have an Olympic committee. And so Hawaii cannot have its own Olympic committee. It's just the United States of America. So we'll see that kind of switch coming into those events, but the WSL is sticking strong with that historical presence of Hawaii as its own surfing nation.
Yeah, so good. And we see obviously that region's been extended slightly. It is technically the Hawaii Tahiti Niue region. And again, doing some a great job in that broader Polynesian area in the Pacific. And of course, Eli Henneman, Gabriella Bryan, Makana Pang, Kiala Timona Bannett, and Kalani Rivera, along with Cole Alves, of the surfers representing that region in this particular event. We saw a great hit there earlier on today. Cole Alves, he was actually scheduled to be in the last heat of the day yesterday. Well, he was meant to be paddling out, and they called the heat off just before his heat started. And he was saying he had so much pent-up energy that he had to go out there and let it loose in a free surf afterwards. So he did well to come back this morning and put in a big win with some big tail high reverses.
Absolutely. It was pretty funny to see him out there yesterday afternoon with, the 50 free surfers that were in the water. He was still wearing his jersey because he'd already paddled out and hadn't opted to come in, fight those cobblestone rocks. It's just, it's kind of like once you get in the water here, you just want to stay in because you don't want to have to deal with coming in and out, especially on that high tide that we had yesterday evening, where that water's really sloshing around and there's those cobblestones are really on the move around your ankles and your knees. And so he just stayed in the water, sunk in a few really good waves, got that energy out, and came back with all cylinders firing.
That's I'm really 4.33 for Makana Pang's last wave, the two-turn combination on his backhand. And of course, Crosby Colapinto yet to open up the heat here for him. And we're coming down to that halfway mark, Shannon. What's going through Crosby's mind right now?
Wow, so this is really similar to that heat we saw yesterday for Max Elkington, where he hadn't had a wave for about 16 minutes. Crosby now halfway through this heat has selected not to go. So he's sitting with priority, which is working in his favor, but we saw this strategy go against Max Elkington yesterday afternoon, where I think he could have strung together 2 good waves if he'd been potentially more active in that first half of the heat and just put something on the board. But wave selection really coming into play. So on one hand, I really respect what Crosby's doing here as we see this left opening up.
Here we go on his backside. Crosby Colapinto, nice big vertical smack on that first turn, up and over for the third. Nice projection down the line, looking for the third turn. He's got more open face ahead of him now and shuts that one down. I was going to say just kicking that tail out for the final turn, but maybe just pushing a little bit too hard on that last turn, but did some damage nonetheless on the opening section of this wave.
So taking a look at this replay, drives into that first turn nice and vertical, keeping it slow and steady. It's that little floater over to just continue his speed. Another check turn on the top, and this is where things just go south. He loses almost the grip of having his fins out of the water, but he still sinks in a 5.57, so that's a great start for the California local from San Clemente, Crosby Colapinto, younger brother of Griffin Colapinto, who is going to be probably the rookie of the year on the shortboard side of things. Well, maybe not.
I think Wade Carmichael's ahead of him at this point in time, and with one event to go, it'll be the battle between Wade and Griffin for sure. But I like what Crosby's done in this heat as far as patience is concerned. If you haven't got a wave in 15 minutes, that can mess with your head, and he's showing that he has the mental fortitude to just drop anchor as it were, to sit there and wait for that opportunity. There is, on the other side of the coin, you can get busy, but if you've got 5 one-point wides, it's really not going to help your cause. He's waited patiently. He's locked in the best wave of the heat so far, and now he's got 13 minutes to get his second wave. You only need 2 waves ridden towards your total heat score, and with 13 minutes remaining, you think now he's in a better position, much better than he was 2 minutes ago.
Absolutely, and to wait for that bigger score, as we saw Makana Pang drop 2 scores on the board, a 1.17 throw weight and that 4.33, which was connected a couple things together. But for Crosby to get a solid score, a near 6 on the board, is definitely looking to put him in the driving seat in this heat. Makana now chasing a 1.25 only to take that lead based on the heat totals, but he's definitely going to need to put something in the 5 to 6 to 7 range to put some true distance between himself and Crosby. You can see a little paddle there on screen. Both surfers actually having a look.
Here we go. This is Crosby Colapinto, another left-hander for the surfer from San Clemente, California. Nice frontside wrap to rebound for the first turn. This wave's got a bit of a slower tempo. He's got to wait for it to stand up before he hits something major on the inside section. Yeah, that's a nice turn, a nice stab that sets up a lot of spray. Transitional float to get down onto some more open face. A little white water tag to end up that wave number 2 from Crosby Colapinto. He'll be happy with that one. A pretty meaningful score he's going to lock in here again. A bit slower in the beginning, Shannon, but it livened up towards the midsection.
Absolutely. So drives around that first turn. Nice big open face carve. Similar turn on the second one, but this is where it starts to just stand up for him and give him a little bit of a wall and some punch. Throws in that back foot flare. Little floater over the top. And one finishing little snap. So good bit of combination surfing coming through from Crosby with 11.5 minutes on the clock. Makana Pang just, he's put that 4.33 on the board, but Crosby definitely seems to be driving things now.
Yep, that's right. That's what happens. You kind of see those flat spells happening, and you see so many times momentum shift in these heats, and I think just the way that Crosby held on to that priority and that patience has really set up now a strong opportunity for him in the back half of this heat. Just going through those CT rankings to make sure I wasn't talking nonsense. Of course, Wade Carmichael currently 7th on the championship tour, and Griffin down in 20th position.
All right, so Wade Carmichael, excellent opening year on the World Championship Tour. As we check this replay, nice slow down version. Crosby Colapinto on his backhand, driving into each of those carves. Nice extension of his legs to just gain some more momentum, and this comes through as a 6.5. We've just heard the announcement through from our beach announcer. Really like the way he's eyeing up that section. His eyes are really focused the whole time on where he's heading, and he certainly made the most of that one.
Yeah, seeing a lot of little subtle foot adjustments on that really super slow motion. As you project down the line, you normally put your foot a bit further forward on that tail pad. Here we go, live action. This is Makana Pang, final left-hander now. Little opening snap to try and set up something meaningful here. Again, a bit of a slower tempo on this wave now. It starts to stand up through the inside section. He's going to have one opportunity here to really shut this one down. And gets a little turn in there. Really slow wave for Makana. Not really too many opportunities for anything really explosive, just because of the nature and the tempo that wave had.
Absolutely, and that may be due to that low tide drawing out. So we did have the official call from Will Hayden Smith, our event director, that we were going to go on hold for about 2 hours. It is currently 8:50 a.m. here in Taiwan, and we're going to go on hold until 10:45 to make a call and potentially continue running with either men's or women's round 3. We do have some good swell on the horizon, but also those winds, so we're definitely going to take advantage of this if it's a little bit more consistent. The wind is on it today, but it's not too strong to where it's really putting a negative effect on things. These guys are still surfing really well. We just need a little bit more pace in the water as far as waves go.
Yeah, that's right. 9 minutes and 13 seconds remaining. Colapinto leads with priority. 2-score combination, 6.5 and a 5.57. He waited for 15 minutes before he caught his first wave, and now he's made the back half of this heat absolutely count with 2 solid scores locked in. Now 9 minutes remaining, a 3.43 for last of Makana Pang. Unfortunately for him, that wave just really not offering up enough opportunity for him to get explosive. And Crosby now using priority on the outside again, favouring these left-handers. Nice little jab to start off with. Up and over, transitional floats are done with a lot of speed and flow. Now out onto that open face. This is where it gets a bit fat. but he's looking for an opportunity to shut this one down the inside. This time, pops the tail out and rides out of that one. So again, now wave number 3, he's definitely building scores, and that should drop his 5.57. We'll get there or thereabouts, I would say.
Absolutely. Taking a look at this replay, better size wave on offer as well. So those lefts really opening up well today. I like that little floater transitional maneuver. Slows down to just keep himself in the pocket. Back out on the open face, starts racing that line and puts that finishing punch on. A little bit of a spin involved, not all the way around, but throwing some flair. So scores to come through for last of Crosby Colapinto. He has definitely had great wave selection in this. He only caught his first wave after the 15-minute mark, which was a lot of patience in waiting and could have worked against him, but his first 2 waves coming through in about minute 20 or so, around minute 15 to 20, with a 5.57 and a 6.5 as we take a look at this recap.
Yeah, it's been a great little start there, like you said, taking his time to get this heat underway, but I think what it does, it shows the mental fortitude that this kid has. It takes a lot to sit there with a lot of patience and then still open up strongly, Shannon, when you've been waiting there for 15 minutes.
Yep, so really capitalizing on it. You can see this is his second wave, a little bit bigger than that first wave, which built on his scoreline, and now that last wave was actually probably the best in size. Put together some good combination surfing, so I'm curious to see what the judges think as far as critical turns go. Those, wave size matters, how many maneuvers you get matter, but it really is quality over quantity at the end of the day.
Looks like our Chief of Research and Development is getting ready for another surf. Crispin's taking every opportunity to squeeze out a little session.
He'll definitely take that title to his name, Chief of Research.
I think his stats were 12 surfs from 10 days, so I think it's going to be 13 from 11, so he's up to 15, he reckons. I don't know. I think he's bodging the books there. 6 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. Colapinto out in front with the 6.5 and a 5.57. We still are waiting for that last score to drop in for the Californian surfer. 4.33 and a 3.43 for Makana Pang. Currently looking for a 7.74 to get him into the lead. This is going to be the last heat for a little bit of time as we go on hold after this heat number 12 of round number 2 in the boys. In the men's division, we'll come back in a couple of hours' time and reassess, and it might be getting underway again with round 3 action, either in the men's and the women's, or all the women's, should I say. And the judges really deliberating this last score, wave number 3 for Colapinto. Got a feeling it's going to, maybe sit in between that wave 1 and wave 2, Shannon. But I think that's what the judges are doing now, just kind of really analysing the difference in manoeuvres. We've got a couple of transitional floaters to consider, and of course the judges like that real explosive vertical stabs that he's been doing as well. So when you string it all together, that's what they will take into consideration, and we'll see what they determine as that score. But regardless, it's going to be keeping him in a fairly strong position coming into the final 5 minutes of this heat.
So 5 minutes to go, and we are going to go on hold for the end of this, or for a couple of hours. But scores through last of Crosby, a 6.3. So you nailed it right in the middle of those 2 first scores. Well done, Judge Brad.
Yeah, 6.3 now, backs up to 6.5. So his heat total now pops up over that 12-point mark at 12.80. Makana Pang with priority needs an 8.47, and looking at his score line, it's going to have to be his best wave, but not only that, it's going to have to be the highest score of the heat so far. And as time runs down, Shannon, you often can get those heat totals by getting 2 waves. In this particular context, though, with 4 minutes and 40 seconds remaining, as soon as that time gets lower and lower, the need's going to come down to a 1-wave opportunity, and the 8.47 will be a tall ask.
So Makana Pang with a tall ask in front of him to see if he can stretch out what Crosby has put on the board so far. He has a look at that one, decides not to go. Big set coming through behind, so there's still definitely some size in the water, but due to that tide dropping out, it has gotten a little bit slower, so we're just going to take a couple hours, reassess the conditions as that tide starts to push. This place definitely works better on the pushing tide, as does probably every other surf spot in the world. Always has a little bit more juice and punch to it, as it just kind of helps those waves come into whatever the surf spot may look like. In this case, a harbor wall.
Yeah, that's true. And now, of course, we are looking at elimination surfing, Shannon. Of course, the first rounds, no one loses. And yesterday we saw a big day of action, girls round 2, and the majority of the men's round 2 action. These are the last the last heat today. We finished up, started off the day with the first 4 heats that we couldn't get through yesterday. They were the last 4 heats of round number 2. So elimination surfing here as we continue now into the event. Will be elimination surfing all the way through to that final. Of course, the winner will take home $15,000 and of course the prestige of being a world champion with the WSL, and of course they get preferential seating now, those world champions, into those big QS events next year. And as we all know, those points are vital in the 6,000s and 10,000s if it is your dream to qualify for the World Tour.
Absolutely. And these whoever wins this, they'll get to work on that speech for the WSL Awards, which generally happens in, I think, February on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, normally just before the first event of the year. Of course, the tour starting a little bit later next year. Beginning of April will be the first event at Snapper Rocks, usually around mid-March or early March to mid-March. So this year pushed out a little bit more, and we're going to see a little change in structure for the first 4 events as far as locations concerned. The first event of the tour is going to be Snapper Rocks, followed by Bells Beach, and then we're going to head over to Bali, to Karamas, and then we will come back to WA, to Western Australia, for the 4th leg of that Australasian region. And that's of course to try and just put the window a little bit further out for Margaret River. We've seen a bit of shark activity there the last couple of years, and just to put us out of that sort of seasonal time for that activity. It's a wise move because it's an amazing contest venue, and we've seen some incredible performances there for the men's and girls over the last couple of years.
Absolutely. Such a beautiful region of the world. We got to go just a couple weeks before the contest ran there last year. We weren't actually there for the event, but it was my first time in WA, first time in Margaret River, which is where my husband grew up. And it was just a really special time to see what that coastline has to offer. Very different from the east coast of Australia, and if you are looking for a holiday destination, certainly an area to check out, as well as some excellent surf up and down the west coast of Oz. So great to see those changes coming in. Hopefully we get some better swell patterns as well, maybe shifting those events just by a little bit, catching up with that swell season. And yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see what next year, 2019, holds. Can Steph Gilmore get an 8th world title to her name? I got a feeling that with that tie now with Leanne Beachley, she's definitely going to be pushing the limits to try and take that one extra.
Well, she certainly got it in her with 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining. Colapinto still leads this one. Pang second, looking for the 8.47. Definitely got it in her to take out that 8th, but she's not going to have it all her own way. We've seen an incredible push by Lakey Peterson this year. I love what she's brought. She's really stepped up the last couple of seasons, and then you can never count out the Carissa Moores, the younger generation coming through as well. As we see live pictures over here, this is Makana Pang streaking down the line, trying to find something special on this one. Engages that turn. Just gets the fins to release a little bit. They bite back for a little revert out on the front side there, but not going to be the 8.47 he requires. 40 seconds remaining on this one now. Looks like it's going to be Colapinto who's going to book himself a place in the 3rd round. Always a sketchy situation to find yourself in round 2, whether you're on the Championship Tour or here at the World Juniors. Of course, we are running the exact same format as the Championship Tour here as far as the heat structure is concerned, as the draw is concerned. Colapinto. Just a little look.
All right, so 15 seconds on the clock. And just that reminder, we will be going on hold for 2 hours, so be sure to tune back in. 2 hours time for the official call on whether we will continue with today, taking advantage of the slightly smaller swell conditions, lighter winds than what maybe we have coming for the next few days. And a massive congratulations to Crosby. There is our head chief of research and development, Binzi, getting ready.
That's him. He's jumping on every opportunity. That heat is now officially closed down. Crosby Colapinto is going to be finding himself a place in the 3rd round. The surfer from San Clemente in California has done it well in that heat, Shannon. Unfortunately, therefore, Makana Pang, he really couldn't quite put it together in that one.
Great surfing from Crosby Colapinto. Love seeing that power come into play once again on those lefts. And we are going to go to a good highlights package from what you've seen already today. Be sure to check back in 2 hours' time, local time. It is just before it is 9 o'clock on the dot, so 10:45 a.m. We'll have that call to see what we're doing for the rest of the day. We'll see you then.
See you soon.
Heavy. Legendary. Deadly. Definitive.